hours before the expiry of the 4-month-old ceasefire, fighting broke out on Mount Ozren in north-central Bosnia between Bosnian Croat soldiers and Bosnian Serbs. It was becoming increasingly clear that the United Nations, which has been trying to get the ceasefire extended, had failed. About 200 miles away from Mount Ozren in western Slavonia, near the divided town of Pakrac, observers witnessed the worst of today's fighting after Croats launched a three-pronged attack shortly before dawn. Croat troops dug in rocket launchers as artillery and tanks moved forward across United Nations ceasefire lines. It was Croatia's worst fighting for more than 18 months. They moved in 3 days after the Serbs shut the E70 motorway, linking Zagreb with Belgrade, killing 3 Croatian drivers. It crosses patches of Serb-held territory. In response, the Serbs reinforced their troops from the south and detained 115 United Nations soldiers and civilian police.
There are 2 platoons of the Nepalese battalion who were detained by the Serbs in the southeastern tip of western Slavonia. There are 36 United Nations civilian police who have been detained in the town of Okuchani, and elsewhere in the sector a few dozen Nepalese and Argentine battalions have also been detained by the Serbs. We're, of course, pressing for their release at the earliest opportunity, and we're trying to persuade the Serbs and the Croats to allow us to resume our responsibilities.
There's been no will to extend the ceasefire from either side. The Bosnian Serb leader, Radovan Karadzic, told the UN Special Envoy, Yasushi Akashi, Bosnian Serbs would agree to another ceasefire only if there was an end to sanctions against them.
It is now a question whether the international community rather has a peace here or the sanctions. It seems to us that some international factors rather have sanctions maintained than peace achieved. I do think that peace will not be achieved unless we all be treated equally.
The UN Special Envoy, who admitted he'd not made much progress, said he'd tried to ensure the levels of violence were minimized.
However, I have received assurances from all sides, the Bosnian Serb side, Bosnian government side, Bosnian Croat side, that all of them will exercise maximum restraint and refrain from provocative military actions.
Mr. Akashi's task has been made more difficult by the attitude of the Bosnian government, which for so long has been the underdog. As these pictures show, it spent the winter training and re-equipping its troops in preparation for a spring offensive to try to regain some of the territory it's lost. Today's fighting and the detention of the UN peacekeeping forces by Bosnian Serb troops will add to fears that the situation is set to deteriorate further. NATO's making preparations for a possible withdrawal of United Nations forces, while foreign ministers from the 5-nation contact group are likely to meet next week to discuss the situation.
Of course, if the job of the UN forces becomes impossible because of the fighting, they will have to withdraw. There are plans for that, and they would have to be carried out. We're not at that point yet, and I hope the fighting does not increase to the extent that we reach that point.
With refugees once more forced to flee the fighting, late this afternoon the situation escalated further. Croatian Air Force MiG jets bombed targets in Krajina, a separatist Serb enclave in Croatia.